My home is a horror story house. I will start by saying no one was murdered here. It's not a murder house. But this is a true story of the house I live in and how it affirms my true belief that there is no such thing as ghosts. You see, when I was young my family moved house quite a lot. This was mainly because we'd buy a run-down place, fix it up and then move in, selling the previous house. This cycle repeated till the house in which I currently live. This house has a story that I often joke as being like that of a horror story. Now when we bought the place it was filled from the floor to ceiling with rubbish. It took 6 skips just to clear the house. We had so many books we literally gave them away at car boot sales just to be rid of them. A sort of keep what you can carry situation. The old couple were hoarders to the most extreme degree. To the point where we found bags of literally shit. But you may ask, how is this a horror story house? There are people who are hoarders this bad and their houses whilst bad aren't horror stories. Well, I'll get to that point momentarily. I'm just establishing how crazy this couple was. Now, as old people who don't go out tend to do, they died. No, they weren't murdered. That's not what makes this a horror house. The old man, in fact, died a very mundane way. He died whilst sitting on the toilet. God only knows why. As stated previously, they kept everything. It's when we get to the woman that the horror starts. You see, it was a couple of months after her husband died. I will also point out their bodies were found at the same time, so his body was sat decomposing in the toilet for a couple of months. Anyway, it was a couple of months following his death that she died. She apparently took too many of her medication. Now, this was not what killed her, it's just the inciting incident. You see, her meds made her sleepy, and being old she must have felt cold. So she fell asleep over an electric heater. You can now see where this is going. She died by melting into the floor. We had to replace hardwood flooring because it was stained where she had died. So I live in a house where people could not let go of anything. People who never left their house for anything. Where they both died, where one melted into the floor. But this is not where my horror house story ends. You see, my sister's boyfriend at the time had grown up in a house around the corner. Being the local crazy old people, there were stories and rumors that the neighborhood kids spread and shared. One of the most frequently shared ones were their nicknames. They were named the Cat Killers. They had this name because cats seemed to disappear after going into their garden. Now my family put no stock in the nickname. We had cleared through 6 skips worth of trash and found no bodies outside of the occasional rat. We put it down to a crazy old couple and kids making up and exaggerating stories to make them seem creepier. That was until we began renovating the garden itself. Over 30 shoe boxes were found. In each a cat. Now, I wasn't here for this part, so I don't have details if they had collars or stuff like that. But my family confirmed the nickname. So back to my opening statement, that fact, I don't believe in ghosts because of this house. Well, living in a house where one person melted and another died and sat decomposing. People who never gave up anything regardless. A house where a large number of innocent cats were murdered. In my 10+ years living here, I have experienced exactly 0 paranormal events. This content was provided by angelotricarico.com.